Hey guys, so in the previous section we looked at how to find coterminal angles, which are angles that share the same terminal side. So for example, 210 degrees and negative 150 degrees represent a pair of coterminal angles, right? So basically two angles with the same terminal side, and we saw, if you recall from the previous section, that we could find positive coterminal angles by just keep adding 360 degrees, just going around one more time, which makes sense because if this is my angle that is formed, okay, all I have to do is start at my angle and go around one more circle and I would end up at the same spot. And again, if I go around one more circle again, I'm going to end up at the same spot. So if I keep adding 360 degrees, which is one full circle, that gives me a coterminal angle that's positive. And if I want to find a negative coterminal angle, well, all I have to do is go in a circle in the other direction, right? If I go this way, then I end up at the same spot again. So to find a negative coterminal angle, all I have to do is subtract 360 degrees until I get to a negative. Now today we're going to do the same thing, except now our angles are in radian instead of degrees. So let's start by sketching out your angle in radian, and you don't really have to do this every time, sketching out the diagram, but if it helps you, you can. So I'm just going to sketch it out just so we can see where the angle is. So 3/4 of pi, 3 pi over 4, or 3/4 of pi, we know that this is 0 radian, and pi radian is right here, that's 180 degrees, right? So 3/4 of the way through, if we cut this into fourths here, my initial side on the positive x-axis, and then my terminal side is the one that rotates. So if this is 1 pi, this is half a pi, this will be 1/4 of pi. Okay, so 1/4, 2/4, 3/4 of pi would be right here. That is the angle. Okay, so the measure of this angle is 3/4 of pi. And to find a positive coterminal angle, all I have to do is go 3/4 of pi and then go one more circle. And then here I am again. So to find a positive coterminal angle, I'm going to take 3/4 of pi radian, and I'm going to add one full circle, which in degrees is 360 degrees, but one circle in radian is 2 pi radian, because 1 pi is a half circle, is 180 degrees. So again, need a common denominator in order to add and subtract fractions. So I'm going to multiply both sides by, I'm going to multiply the 2 pi by 4 over 4 to get a common denominator of 4. So that's going to give me 3 pi over 4 plus 8 pi over 4. So that's going to give me 11 pi over 4 is a positive coterminal angle. And then for the negative coterminal angle, all we have to do is go one circle the other way. So instead of adding a full circle, I'm going to subtract a full circle. I'm going to take, for the negative coterminal angle, I know that I'm going to go in the negative direction. So this right here will bring me to that angle, and I'm going to go one full circle back. Okay, so start at 3 pi over 4, and I'm going to subtract instead of 360, because now in radians, we're going to subtract 2 pi. And again, in order to add and subtract fractions, we need a common denominator. So that's going to be 3 pi over 4 minus 8 pi over 4. That's going to give me negative 5 pi over 4. And here is a negative coterminal angle that shares the same terminal side as my initial angle. Okay, so for B, if we don't want to have to draw out the diagram, we don't have to, as long as you remember that to find coterminal angles, I either add a full circle or I subtract a full circle. To get the positive, I add, and to get the negative, I subtract. If it's in degrees, we add or subtract 360 degrees, which is a full circle, and if it's in radians, we add or subtract 2 pi, which is a full circle. So to find the positive coterminal angle, I'm going to take negative 5 pi over 3, and I'm going to add 2 pi, which is my one full circle. And again, near common denominator, let's make the common denominator 3. So that's negative 5 pi over 3 plus 6 pi over 3. So that's going to give me pi over 3. So pi over 3 is my positive coterminal angle. And then to find the negative coterminal angle, which is really a negative angle, it just needs to be negative. A negative angle that has the same terminal side as negative 5 pi over 3. We're going to take negative 5 pi over 3, and now we're going to subtract one full circle, which is 2 pi radian. So again, to add and subtract fractions, we need a common denominator. So that's negative 5 pi over 3 minus 6 pi over 3. That's going to give me negative 11 pi over 3. And that is a negative coterminal angle. So summary, finding coterminal angles, you add 360 or you subtract 360 if the angle is in degrees, and you add 2 pi or you subtract 2 pi if the angle is in radian. If you want a positive coterminal angle, you keep adding 2 pi until you get a positive angle. If you want a negative coterminal angle, you keep subtracting 2 pi until you get to a negative angle.